And welcome. Thank you for joining me in the conclusion of this book. Marriage is a relationship and divorce is a pain. In conclusion, very briefly, William Makepeace Thackeray has given a fabulous answer to what makes you proud of a person that you're married to. And he says, when I walk with you, I feel as if I had a flower in my buttonhole. Imagine a man feels so proud as if he's got a tuxedo and he's got a flower there. He feels so proud that the person standing next to him, that is his wife. And the wife must feel so proud of the husband that's standing next to her. That is a beautiful marriage. So my dear reader, this is the beginning and end of our journey. A good marriage starts with you. But it always takes two to tango. It takes two hands to clap. That means that there is probably some element of fault on each side. We don't like to admit our fault, but look first at yourself. Before blaming your partner, say, maybe I'm at fault. Both sides must be willing to acknowledge their mistakes and be willing to find a solution. Both of them. Take your egos one side, throw your egos one side. If one party, and especially don't be narcissistic. Narcissism is a terrible formula. It's a poison. It's toxic for a relationship. Narcissistic people destroy a relationship. Not only marriage, they destroy the business relationship. They destroy friends. So narcissism is something that we must throw out of the window. If one party is stubborn or difficult or uncompromising narcissist, then the challenges are much worse. When there is a problem or conflict in your marriage, here are some tips and suggestions. First, 80% of problems in a marriage are petty differences. Second, if you are in a vicious cycle of constant bickering, then you need to have an honest face-to-face discussion. If you can't have, call some family, friends, or go to an arbitration. Number 3, both husband and wife should make a list of 10 items that annoy you the most about your partner. Then give this list to your spouse. Things that annoy you the most, and then share the list with one another. Try and agree to change. However, instead of trying to change all 10 items, just select the most 2 important or 3 important ones and say, okay, are you willing to change the top 3 on those lists, and are you willing to change the top 3 of that list? The husband must be willing to change and the wife must be willing to change. If they dedicate to commit themselves to change just at least 3 or 4 of the items of the 10, it can resolve 80% of the problems in your marriage. Number 4, the fourth tip. In some cases, the husband and wife are so close to the problem that they are not willing to listen to each other's advice. In that case, go to a professional arbitrator. Number 5, if that does not work, then marriage counseling is another option. This can only work if both parties recognize there's a problem and both parties are willing to listen and come to every session, and both parties are willing to do the various exercises that the counselor gives them. Number 6, breakdown of relationships is becoming much more common in today's society, especially among the youth, and no culture or society is immune from this phenomenon. In some marriages, divorce may be the only available option, though this must be left as a last resort after all other avenues have failed. But sometimes there's irreconcilable differences, and that is the only option available. If the problems are petty, then a neutral arbitrator or counseling can help a great deal. However, if the problems are major with irreconcilable differences, then the wiser option may be to then separate amicably with kindness. Always try to do it with kindness, not with bitterness. No one wants to stay in a forced relationship for years and years and years. Unfortunately, and this happens a lot to the woman, some people are forced by circumstances, for example, young children or finances, and they are forced to remain in an unhappy marriage and in a disruptive marriage with narcissistic people. Finally, point number 7, it is our duty and responsibility to ensure that when we are married, that we can raise our children in an environment that will unleash the potential that is within them. Children like to grow up in a wonderful home, in a loving home, and not where people are fighting all the time. We owe it to society, and we owe it to humanity. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren. No kid wants to grow up in a household where the parents are fighting all the time over petty problems. Everyone should strive towards harmony in the house. When there is peace inside of you, then you can have peace with your partner, and there can be peace in the household. When you and your partner are both at peace, then there can be peace in the house, and there can be peace in the neighborhood, and peace in the community. When there is peace and when the community is at peace, then we can have peace in the world. But if the home environment is riddled with domestic violence, drugs, addiction, gambling, fighting, alcohol abuse, domestic violence, and women get the raw end of the stick, verbal and physical abuse, then there is total breakdown of the home environment, and then the society breaks down. And this is from the 2007 movie, What a Wonderful Movie, called Juno. It's a teen comedy drama, and I love some of the quotations from there. So this is from Juno, the movie. He is like totally boss. He is the cheese to my macaroni. Wow, what a fabulous quotation there. And then Thornton Wilder says, I didn't marry you because you were perfect. I didn't even marry you because I loved you. I married you because you gave me a promise. That promise made up for your faults, and the promise I gave you made up for mine. Two imperfect people got married, and it was the promise that made the marriage. And when our children were growing up, it wasn't a house that protected them, and it wasn't our love that protected them. It was that promise. So keep to your promises. Always remember that something attracted you to that partner at the very first glance. Remind yourself of that feeling and treasure the love and special bond that is between you. And remember that to have a happy marriage, you have to work at ensuring ongoing maintenance. Take care, and I wish you everything of the success for you, for the youngsters who are planning to get married. And in conclusion, let's end with how we started off this book. And just to remind you that first, there were the two couple. First, something brought you together. You were loving, something attracted you. That was the first glance. Got ready for the wedding. Then your heart was hit by the Cupid's arrow. There was no looking back. You got ready for the wedding day, made all the preparations. The vows are taken in front of God, most merciful, in front of all the people. You went on honeymoon. You were flying on cloud nine. There was just happiness, two souls on fire. And everything was just going fabulously well. Pillows, some sweet notes under the pillow. SWALK, sweet loving, sweet sealed with a loving kiss. Suddenly there were thorns in this bed of roses. And then there were arguments, stonewalling, not listening to what is going on, only listening to your own point. Why? Because ego and narcissism came in, turning one another's back. Where did all that happiness go? Even the parents, grandparents, and in-laws get involved. Everyone gets involved because everyone wanted happiness. But now what's going on? Then you started wondering, am I in a prison sentence? Should I have ditched it? Should I have jumped away before I got married? But don't worry, there is hope for everyone. What is the key? Key is communication, love, respect, kindness. And then my prayer for you is one day you'll be married for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. You and your partner, and even longer than that, loving one another until old age, and having that little romance well into your old age, buying ice cream for your loved one, sending her chocolates, and sending little love notes under the pillow. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.